Sahana Sahanam Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitam Stumavidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti. They are saying universal love. Love means a feeling of identification. That's all love is. Universal love means the feeling of identification remains the same with every being. That's called even love. Today our love is all wrinkled. All that you have to do is that just iron it out, that's all. Then it becomes even. Like dhoti you iron, no? A shirt you iron, right? There's a difference. You know, you're wearing a shirt which is ironed and you wear a shirt which is wrinkled. And now they sell wrinkle-free dhoti. Universal love. Those who are wearing wrinkle-free dhoti have universal love. The ability to feel that oneness. You see, it's very difficult for us to understand this as a statement. That's where we go to these Puranas, where they give very many stories, exaggerated stories they show us to understand, oh, is it possible to be like that? See, it's we're not talking about some sage and saint and all that. There's a king by name Sibi. The king was doing his morning prayers. When he was doing his morning prayers, one dove came flying. In a rush, it fell on his lap. Trembling, as a king, his natural quality is to give protection. He says, why are you trembling? Relax. You are in safe hands now. And with fondness, he is patting, stroking the bird. As he was doing that, one vulture came and sat on the balcony and said, hey king, give that dove to me. That's my prey. Give it to me. And now the king is confused. To give that dove back means he is not being a king. And he sees the fear in the eyes of the dove. So scared. He doesn't want to give it. At the same time, he doesn't want to deny the vulture also its food. So the king says, look here, you want some feeder, right? I'll give. That's not that would have been the most ideal, conversation. What? You are hungry. When you are hungry, what is your problem? I'm giving you meat. You want to eat meat? I'll give you meat. I'll just catch one dead rat and give you. Happy, no? Take it and go. And it is so interesting to see that the vulture is He's not agreeing to that. The vulture says, no. How can you do that? No, I don't agree to that. If you are going to give protection to this dove, what about the protection to that rat? So instead of rat, you give me dove itself. And the dove meat is better than the rat. If you are going to be offering, offer me something better than that. He says what? You have to decide. And finally, the king decides to give the equal amount of flesh from his own body. And he calls the ministers, bring a weighing scale and keep a dove in one place. The other side, he takes a knife and cuts his own flesh and places it to equalize, balance. And to his surprise, is cut and kept about half a kg of flesh. It's not equalizing. Then he cuts from the other thigh and places it. Still it is not equalizing. And he knows, because he has carried the dove in his hands, so he knows the weight. He is surprised to see, how is it possible that I'm placing more actually than the weight that I have seen the dove had. But now it's taking more. And finally, the king goes and sits there. Then it balances. Yes. That's called a love. The capacity to feel. The manifestation of that is what invariably manifestation of love is unconditional service, unconditional sacrifice. There's no conditions being put. Say, provided you do these things. Okay. In terms of value, if you take, what is the value of the king's life vis-a-vis a dove's life? Who is more important? You see, definitely all of us will say, yes, but the king says, no, it is equal. One life, one life. That's all it is. There is no difference. So, that capacity to serve is the expression of love. So if you claim that you have love, how much you have served, how much you have sacrificed, you have to check. This is not for you to get a score, remember. The way we can understand these qualities is only by expression. But always I have been warning you all that don't go by expression. But at the same time, we don't have an option not to ignore expression. You cannot ignore expression. You can understand anything only after it has been expressed. If it is not expressed, we never understand it. How much knowledge a person has can be known only when he speaks. When he's sitting quiet, what will you think of? Is he knowledgeable or is he dumb, dull? Only when he starts speaking. Just that one or two statements of Ramana Maharishi was so potent. That's why we called him Jnani. Imagine right through his life, he has not uttered a single word. There is no Ulladu Narpadu, Akshara Manimala, nothing. Nothing he has given. No who am I article, nothing of that sort. And he had not spoken to anyone, let's say. No conversation of Ramana Maharishi had ever been. Do you think all of us will be going to him? Still we claim what? Silence. Very. Please don't fall for such, pedantic words. Understand the ground realities. Of course, from the being of Ramana, when it comes, even those one or two words has a tremendous power in comparison to millions of words which has come out of an ignorant mind, noisy mind. A silent mind speaking one or two words has a tremendous power. But his knowledge and his understanding will be known only after he speaks that one or two words, not before that. See, that is a difference. Seshadri Maharishi had recognized Ramana Maharishi much earlier. But to recognize Ramana or you as Seshadri Maharishi is the point. We are not. When we are not Seshadri Maharishi, we cannot be discussing non-expressive. Therefore, world is going to be discussing, judging, understanding you not by your feelings. It is going to do all that only the way in which you are expressing, manifesting. Remember that. If you don't understand this equation, you are in trouble. No, but emotion is subtle than this. All that is fine for understanding purpose. Unless you are of the stature of Seshadri Maharishi, you cannot understand Ramana when he had not uttered a word. Right? His wisdom you will never understand. Same way. Any one of these qualities, if you want to understand, you can understand it only from the way it is expressed. But then, remember, by imitating that expression, you cannot be holding that quality, developing that quality. You cannot get back to that quality. The bhakti of Tyagaraja towards Rama is what expressed as songs. You can also write songs on Rama. But that doesn't mean you are also Tyagaraja. You can also compose music. You can write songs and you can compose music also like Saint Tyagaraja. That doesn't mean you become Tyagaraja. Remember. By singing that song, you don't become Tyagaraja. Remember that. You can't go reverse. But at any point of time, if you have to understand that quality, it can be understood only from the expression. That is why we give expressions. But understand it. But don't try to emulate it. Don't try to imitate it. If you try to imitate, you will get into trouble. This is where most of us make a mistake in the spiritual path. When we see the spiritual masters, we recognize them with certain great qualities and great expressions. Then we start imitating that expression. Believing by going on singing Tyagaraja song, I will also develop that bhakti in me. That will not happen. By going on saying, who am I, who am I, who am I, you don't become one more Ramana Maharishi. That will not happen. They do something. That something is a different thing. Okay. As a result of which, something happens inside them. What happens inside them expresses in this fashion. So this is the effect, not a cause. It's not by singing Tyagaraja was building his bhakti. No. For Tyagaraja, singing is not bhakti yoga. He already had that bhakti. That bhakti that he already possessed in him was manifesting as songs. Mirabai singing on Krishna. Hanuman serving Rama. Right? All those things were expressions of this. So you don't go like that. Okay. So be watchful when you are reading all these qualities. The next quality is objectivity has another problem. It's more complex than the universal law. The second quality, the third quality, objectivity. Yeah, read.
Page 371. Objectivity. An essential quality of the spiritually evolved is objectivity. Objectivity means maintaining an impersonal, detached attitude in life, not being involved in the affairs of the world. Some become involved in amassing wealth, seeking power, name, and fame. Others are lost in feelings and emotions, thoughts and ideas. Ironically, the worst form of attachment, involvement, is found among the religious. Those are the ones extremely attached to their creed, who turn into religious fanatics, extremists, even terrorists. Those who are detached, not lost in their own field of activity, are said to be objective. They become a witness, sakshi, to all the happenings in the world. Watch the procession of perception, emotion, and thought go by. Thus, must you attune to the real sakshi, the self within. Treat your body, mind, and intellect as your possessions, something other than you. The world can only affect these equipments, but not the self. Resign to the self and look at the world from the balcony of the self. That is objectivity.
When you lack objectivity, or to understand objectivity from the opposite. What is lack of objectivity? Lack of objectivity means involvement. You are involved in the affairs of the world. Affairs of the world means you are involved with your own perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts. At any level of your personality, you get involved. What is so interesting about it is, even to recognize that you are involved, you need X amount of objectivity. Remember that. You want to say, sir, yes, I think I am getting involved, demands this objectivity. So, how do you start developing objectivity? Start developing objectivity from the knowledge of involvement. The knowledge of involvement is where you start the whole thing. And we all believe that in certain activity that causes my involvement, it is few activities that is causing involvement is what we think, without realizing that involvement is not triggered by a particular activity, particular action, particular situation, particularizing anything. It is triggered by the way your mind relates to activity. to be more precise, the way in which your gross intellect connects to activity. How your gross intellect relates to your perceptions, emotions, thoughts defines either you are getting involved or you are getting objective. Right? So objectivity is more of the quality of the intellect. Love is more of the quality of the mind, emotions. Objectivity is with reference to your intellect. And we have known all these things, right? By now you should be familiar with these terms. Every human has got two types of intellect, gross intellect and subtle intellect. Don't worry. We will go back to the text and start again. When you read the, from the beginning, correct, sir. Now I understand. Gross intellect, subtle intellect, all that. You have two types of intellect, gross and subtle. You are transacting with the world using your gross intellect. And if your gross intellect is functioning in association with your mind involvement, and your gross intellect is functioning in the world with the backdrop, in the backdrop of your subtle intellect, that's called objectivity. So what is the equation? Equation is very simple. Gross intellect plus mind equals involvement. Gross intellect plus subtle intellect equals objectivity. That's all it is. In terms of mathematical equation, if you want. So when your gross intellect is functioning in the world, transacting in the world, it should be operating in the backdrop of your subtle intellect, under the guidance of your subtle intellect. And what is subtle intellect? Subtle intellect talks about only one thing, the supreme. Subtle intellect identifies, deals with the supreme. And as you know, you don't have to go in search of the supreme, this, that, and all those things. Every being, every human has got this thing called the spirit, or what in the Gita Krishna calls as Kshetrajna and Kshetra. As he says in the Gita, Kshetrajnam chapimam viddhis sarva kshetreshu bharata. I am the Kshetrajna amongst the Kshetra. Kshetra means the matter. Kshetrajna is the consciousness. The consciousness is the witnessing self is there in you already. Recognizing that, understanding that, probing into that, investigating that, directing you to move and identify with that is the job of the subtle intellect. So when you are transacting in the world, and that's what he means by look at the world from the balcony of the self. Balcony means what? You cannot have a balcony at the ground level. If you have something called ground level, you don't call it as balcony. No? Isn't it? Many apartments, they have, ground floor, they have a house. They also have extended. But they don't call that as balcony. Strictly speaking, you cannot call it as balcony actually. Balcony means always what, sir? First floor onwards. You are above the ground level. From the balcony of the self means from identifying yourself as the kshetra towards kshetrajna. Take a position of a kshetrajna and operate. Your subtle intellect is that which takes the position of the kshetrajna and directs the gross intellect to function in the world. There you become objective. So what is objectivity? Objectivity is developing the art of witnessing. How do you develop the art of witnessing? By identifying, linking the gross intellect with the subtle intellect, instead of linking the gross intellect with the desires and likes and dislikes of the mind. Today, all your thinking is happening under the influence of your desires. You think so much in terms of how to become rich. Nobody asks why you should become rich. Whom to marry? So much of thinking. Why marriage? Now don't say. That question I should have asked. You are asking because of your frustration. You are irritated with your partner. As a result of your disappointment with your partner, you say, yes, sir. That's not investigation. That's not inquiry. That's not questioning. How many of us ask this question, why should I get married? That doesn't mean nobody should get married. That doesn't mean nobody should earn money. That doesn't mean nobody should have power, position, etc. Nothing. How many ask that fundamental question? Why? Because you have already decided that I should. Only problem is, whom is the issue? The effort that we make, how the marriage should happen. There's a tremendous discussion within that family. There are 5, 6 people in the family and they have a huge debate and discussion how the marriage should happen, where the marriage should happen, when the marriage should happen, whom to marry. But how many of us have sat and discussed in the house why that fellow should get married? For what he should get married? Have you ever asked? That question will not ask. That is taken for granted. That is called gross intellect functioning under the influence of your mind. The first step is taken for granted. Afterwards, your gross intellect takes over, which means it can never function beyond that framework provided by your desires, framework provided by your ego, framework provided by your likes and dislikes, framework provided by your emotions. It cannot think beyond that. This is called involvement. When that happens, as a consequence, you would be totally involved. Whereas, when your gross intellect is operating with the framework provided by your subtle intellect. What is subtle intellect? Subtle intellect is that which recognizes and identifies with the kshetrajna, who is witnessing consciousness. When you function with that, there is no identification. Otherwise, every action that you are performing, remember, action can never happen without an actor. No action can happen without actor. And every action will have an effect, consequence, fruit. So in discussion of any action, there is performance of action, there is an actor, and there is a fruit. Right? If you identify yourself as actor, if you have decided, yes, sir, I am the actor. The moment you say that I am the actor, you have no other choice but to get involved in the performance of action and suffer the fruit of action. The moment you disassociate yourself from the actor, from the doer, to the being, I'm just a being, witnessing consciousness, witnessing self. I'm just a witness. Then you don't associate yourself as actor. You don't believe yourself to be an actor. If you don't believe yourself to be an actor, then you have got nothing to do with the performance of action. You have got nothing to do with the consequences of action. The self-development means the person who is moving towards non-identification with the actor. How he is able to do that? He is able to do it because of the strength of his subtle intellect. What defines the strength of the subtle intellect? Its ability to recognize the fact, recognize that I am the Kshetrajna. So the moment you understand yourself to be the Kshetrajna, will not. So it's okay, sir, by objectivity, what will happen? Now we all think, if I become objective, will action stop? Action will never stop. In fact, your actions will get better. It gets much better. What is it getting better? You don't freeze. You know, in any situation, you freeze. You don't even know what to do next. See, when a situation is alarming, like a few years back, you know, they're sitting and having lunch in one of a person's house. The lady was making, you know, this puri, making puri, and she wants to prepare hot puris and give us. There's no one, that man, myself and my friend, that lady. We were sitting and having puri in the house. And this lady brought that puri and she placed it. And I was asking her something and she was talking. Suddenly we saw a neighboring child rushing inside the house, saying, "Fire, fire." I said, "Fire? Where is fire? What is fire? Where is it?" He says, "There is fire from your kitchen." And we turned that side and see kitchen, the oil that she has kept, no, to prepare puri was in fire. How we caught fire, we don't know. That all oil, that kadai full of oil was in fire, and that fire caught into the chimney. All around they have done all woodwork. Around chimney, all woodwork. All fire. And we should see this, you know, that man just froze. Just didn't know what to do, and that lady didn't know what to do. And this fellow, in a hurry, he just rushed into the kadai full of that shooting fire. He lifted that and take it out. Full hands burnt. just took that bucket and placed it on top, closed it, shut it, and then asking him for water, from where we can get water to throw to extinguish the fire in the kitchen. This man didn't know. Fortunately, I had knowledge of their house. So I rushed into their bathroom and picked up a bucket of water we brought and started splashing it, quenched the water. Fortunately, and it is fascinating. They didn't know what to do actually. One fellow freezes. One fellow rushes into it and burnt. This is what happens when you get involved. So you freeze. In many situations, this happens. Of course, this happened in his house. Therefore, I could have been objective. The same fire comes in my house, I don't know what I would have done. Okay. But that's the rule. See, that's why all of us can give advice to others' problem. And the problem comes to us. This is called objectivity. Objective means the person who is smart. Today you are affected by the consequences. The results of your action affects you. Why it affects you? Because you have identified yourself as an actor. There is that possessiveness. This is mine. That mineness. I am the doer. And this is mine. I am the doer. This is mine. I am the doer. This is mine. That's where the whole problem is. Objectivity is the capacity to stand apart. Many a times you will find yourself, sir, I am not getting involved in certain situations. Don't immediately jump in and say, oh, I have also started developing objectivity. Or don't wait in my house also when the fire catches. Many a times your non-involvement is not because of you have objectivity. It is because in that area the desire is not so intense in comparison to other areas. That's all. I repeat, follow carefully. Because when you are reading all this, you would immediately connect it to your life. It's almost impossible that none of you will be able to read these things as qualities. Immediately your mind will switch to, what did I do then? What did happen here? What did this, that? All that will come in. So be careful. That is why we say, unless to qualify what you claim to be objectivity, your quality of objectivity that you possess, to qualify that, you need to have a strong, subtle intellect which has identified with the kshetrajna. Without identifying with the kshetrajna, if you believe that I am also having in certain areas of objectivity, remember that is because of you are not having any desire in that area. Like a doctor who is able to operate on so many people cannot operate on his own daughter. Not possible. It's almost impossible. A dentist I know, his son goes to another dentist. His friend will do. He has to do the capping for his son. Asked him where he's going. He said he's going there. I said, I'm bringing my daughter to you, and you are sending your son to that fellow. I myself go there. laughing. Why? Say, Epdi sir, I know it is painful. I know how painful it will be. How can I do that? I can't see. What is that? How is it that he is able to do it on all other people? Not because he is objective. It is because he has no attachment, he has no desires. His attachments and his desires are not intense in that area. That's all. So any area, if you claim that I am objective in some area, I am not objective in another area, wherever you find there is a difference in your level of objectivity, that's what I call as wrinkles. For emotions, we said, no, a wrinkle. Objectivity also, we experience, I get involved in this, I don't get involved in that. I get involved when I go to that temple and I go, I get feel so divine. Another temple I go, Tirupati Balaji, ideal is saying no, whether it is in Tirupati or in Malaysia. The intensity that you can feel in Tirupati is not the intensity that you feel in Malaysia. Why? Because it's not yours. If objectivity is yours, it will be even everywhere. It will be the same everywhere. Remember this. Because when you read this objectivity and all that, immediately you will say, sir, I am also having objectivity in life, sir. If you claim your objectivity, I'm not saying you are not having, okay? Don't immediately say, oh, none of us are objective. That's the first point I've told you. Even to claim that you are involved, you need X amount of objectivity. Even to recognize, you need X amount. That's why in the areas of your involvement, you will never understand that you are involved. That's why when a guru comes and says you are involved there, you get angry. You say, that man doesn't know what is he talking about. He doesn't know all that. He knows how to explain, Isavasya Upanishad, but he doesn't know these things. Why? Because he is coming and telling you something which you cannot recognize. First, to recognize your involvement, you need X amount. If you want to strengthen that, if you want to develop that further, what is needed is this Kshetrajna. Kshetrajnam chapimam buddhi. Remember that. I am the Kshetrajna, that witnessing consciousness. If that witnessing consciousness is not there, it is impossible for you to experience that objectivity. If you are objective, that objectivity will manifest in two ways. That's the next 2 points he is giving. Right? Cheerfulness and dynamism. Read one by one. Yeah, cheerfulness.
Cheerfulness. Another trait of the spiritually developed person is cheerfulness, which he may not necessarily manifest at all times. A spiritually evolved person is replete with cheer and joy, though he may express it discreetly. However, he maintains that feeling all through his life. On the contrary, those who lack self-development, not spiritually evolved, are morose, gloomy, depressed. They suffer from mental sickness. Such people should not contaminate the society with their melancholy. They need to be quarantined to prevent their mental disease from spreading. Lord Krishna is a personification of mirth, of fun and frolic. Through his life, though his life posed continual trial and tribulation, opposition and challenge, he was a picture of cheerfulness, effervescing with laughter.
If we were to follow this man's advice, human population should be inside room only. None of us will be qualified to come outside the house. Because he says those who are lacking cheer should be quarantined. Permanently, we should be all countries throughout, like, Corona time, they said, no, permanent quarantine. Nobody can come out. whole world will be in that lockdown. Where you find a person with that cheer? A cheer doesn't mean laughing all the time. And all that. Because people laugh doesn't mean they are very cheerful. Right? There's no need, actually. It's the joy that they have. This the danger, with the cheer, element of cheer in tamas also. That's where it is dangerous. That's why we want people, don't go by expressions. You say, what is this? It's cheer. From where? What is the root cause of cheer? When you can be cheerful, you can afford to be cheerful only when you are not result oriented in life. In anything that you do, there's no result orientation. The moment you have the result oriented thinking, it is not possible for you to be cheerful in life. The cheer is result orientation means what? Result orientation is, will I be successful in life? If I am a failure in life, to compensate my failure, I will want my daughter to become more successful. Or, since I have been successful in life, my daughter also should be equally successful. I am a gold medalist in university, which I am not. Okay, example. You say what? My daughter also should have at least 2 gold medals. I got 1 gold medal, she should have 2 gold medals. Otherwise, what? If you are a managing director of a company, it doesn't mean your son also should become a managing director. He is a Clark product. And we cannot recognize the fact that he is a Clark product. We cannot accept the fact that he can be a Clark product. Why? Because of result orientation. What? Not now. Even before the child is born, you had planted that thought. The thought plantation has not happened after the child, after this is that, nothing. Much before that. Well in advance. The moment you start a business, straight away the thought is what? Success. Success. In life, you should be successful. Yeah, correct. In success, there are 2 aspects now. One is external success, another one is internal success. The one who is concentrating on external success can never be cheerful. The one who is concentrating on internal success is cheerful. Externally, if you take, you cannot find anyone who is such a miserably failed personality like Krishna. Has he been successful? As a peacemaker, he went. Succeeded? No. He tried to persuade Yudhishthira after the dice game itself that we should go for a war. Did he succeed? Failed. He tried to persuade Karna to leave Duryodhana and come back to his, Pandava side. Did he succeed? Failed. How many times he has failed in his life? 700 slokas, Bhagavad Gita, lecture he gave to Arjuna. Did anything happen to Arjuna? Any transformation you can see in Arjuna. See, after the class, all of you will say, thank you, sir. Very good, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and all that. 5 minutes later, I should look at you. That's why you shut immediately. Before I leave, you people leave. No one even waits actually. Let him go, no, and then he'll go. No, no. Some of them, log out even before that, actually. Obviously you will say. That's exactly what Arjuna also said. Nashto moha smriti labdva, all that. Some big, big words the fellow spoke. Zero impact. Absolutely zero impact on Arjuna. Directly Krishna, Bhagavan himself is giving the teaching. Failures. If you list out the success of Krishna and the failures of Krishna, you would see more success of Krishna as a child. As an adult, if you see, Krishna is more of a failure only. It's like in your school days, you would have had some fellows. 5th standard, first rank, 6th standard, first rank, 7th standard, first rank, 10th standard, school first. And then you are out of touch with that fellow. And after about 25, 30 years, alumni meeting will happen. There you go and see. Believing that fellow would be, Microsoft, a fellow or this one, that. You go there and ask him, what are you doing? I'm a general manager. General manager? Hey. Which company? Some, company actually, that is. 5 crore turnover. In that, he is a general manager. The 5 crore turnover general manager, I don't call that a general manager. You call that as manager. You don't call that a general manager. Just some small thing, the fellow. Such a failure. That's exactly Krishna's life is. The earlier stages, one kick that fellow gives, calling a dance, and you see him, how he killed Pudana, how he killed, Kamsa, how he killed this fellow, that fellow. All that when you see, Krishna looks, so promising. Even when Krishna was showing his Vishwarupa Darshana to Duryodhana, he's standing there laughing. Hey, all this magic show to somewhere else. No magics here. Get out. Nothing doing. Can you believe such a diplomatic failure in adult life? Complete. All his attempts have been failure and a failure and failure only. Believe a man lifting Govardhan Giri and holding it in his left hand little finger for 7 days. Could not convince Duryodhana. Failure. And people, in Dwaraka itself, people started accusing Krishna that he stole that Samantaka gem. Unbelievable. But failure after failure after failure after failure. When you read his life, nowhere you would have found that Krishna has been morose, upset, disturbed. Nothing doing. That's why you'll find all these Krishna characters in any serial, in any movie you see, independent of any situation, you will find them, that character carrying an artificial smile. Will always be there. When he's entering, there is a smile. When he is exiting, there is a smile. As though there is some problem he had in his, muzzle. What my brother's daughter said. When she saw that movie Karnan. That movie Karnan, they re-released it with that 4K and all that. And to the surprise, that movie earned about 5-6 crores at the release. That epic movie. Even though there is a lot of flaw in that movie, but still, it's a classic movie. After that movie, my father took her. He said, "You must watch that." And you want to watch, you go. No, why are you dragging this girl also? He just, we're going to school. And he took her also there. After the movie, she came back. I asked her, "Nah, how was it?" He said, "Everything was fine, Chitappa, but one thing I couldn't understand." I said, "Enna, why is this fellow always smiling?" I said, "Oh, is it?" After that only I saw that movie again. After she told me that, I said, "You should check that." I saw the movie. That NTR, NT Ramarao, always smiling. Why? There's something about their personality, independent of anything. There is that smile there, possible to recognize. There is no way that you can miss it. At the same time, you can recognize their fact also. Cheer, to have that feel, is because of the non-result orientation. Non-result orientation manifests, and the cheer in you will manifest as enthusiasm. Remember, this cheer and enthusiasm always goes together. Now, what is enthusiasm, sir? Enthused means you wanting to do more and more. What? You're enthused means you want to do more. You want to serve more. You want to perform your obligatory actions more and more. That's called enthusiasm. From this, we can distinguish the tamas triggering cheer versus sattvic cheer. That sattvic, that sattva in you manifests as cheer. The cheer in you comes along with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm we can recognize by how you are motivated to do more. Why you are motivated? Because you are not focusing on external success, you are focusing on internal success. Now, what is the meaning of internal success? We don't even know what does it mean. External success we can recognize. That's very simple. What does it say? I have a target, I hit the target. That is external success. Whether I fix a target or somebody fixes a target, that doesn't matter. But there is a target, I achieve the target. Or when I achieve more than the target, which is what all of us want today. If at all you come for spiritual also, you come to spiritual training only for that purpose. Isn't it? To be more productive. I wanted to get the most out of my life, sir. You already got, no, I want more than that also. This is what we understand as success. Now, success we don't recognize as the fact that we are having another dimension of success, which is called internal success. The one who is concentrating on internal success means the one who understands success is not in the result, success is in the execution of action. Very difficult to recognize. As a words we can understand, there is no complication words at all actually here. They're all simple words only. But then the problem is to understand what is the meaning of success in is not in action, it is in the performance of action. The fact that you do an action. That's where we have the next idea of dynamism. Next one is dynamism leads to that. So cheer, we understand like this first. Point number one in cheer is, it is stemming from the fact that a person is not result oriented. Why he is not result oriented? Because results are all external. His concentration is not external success. His concentration is on internal success. Since his focus is internal success, his criterion is only this one. Number two, don't misunderstand the cheer element of tamas to the sattva producing cheer. Two. Third one we understand is this, that a cheerful person is enthusiastic. Enthusiastic person will be looking forward for performance of his obligatory duties more and more. Right? His focus will be on waiting for a chance for him to perform that. Not depending on the consequences, things will vary, sir. That's why the enthusiasm with which you go to office, when you are close to clinching a contract, is a very hopeless situation. The thought of office itself will start giving you agitation, disturbance. Why? Result orientation. The focus is not on this. The moment you see this, then the life will become cheerful. With this yardstick, when you look at Krishna's life only, you can understand how Krishna is a personification of cheer. If you take external parameters, there is no other avatar so pathetic. But we call him Jagat Guru. With what conviction Bharata comes to convince Rama to bring him back. How effortlessly Rama could convince Bharata. How he convince it? In every situation, no matter who the other person is able to convince the other person. If you take that as a reference point and you see Krishna's life, every attempt of Krishna trying to convince the other fellow met with failure only. One of the fundamental quality of a leader is what? Negotiation skills, isn't it? And Rama's negotiation skills. But we call him Purnavatar. Series of failure, but Purnavatar. The direct disciple of Krishna didn't understand a word of what he spoke, but still we called him Jagat Guru. The Jagat Guru title was not given to Rama, it was given only to Krishna. Why? Externally, if you take total failure, internally you take complete success. I'm not saying Rama is internally failed, okay? So we cannot, if you take Rama as a reference point, it is difficult for us to understand that. That's why we took Krishna as example. That's why they have to show external failed, internal success. Only that can give you the cheer. So that's why we take Krishna to be the personification of cheer. How much of failures in his life? How many failures Rama had? How many failures Parshurama had? How many failures Narsimha had? How many failures all the other avatars had? Every avatar which has appeared had never met with failure, except Krishna avatar. Only avatar in which you will find series of failures, not just one failure here and there. Just that's all exceptions. No, series of failures, critical times failure. But still we say what? No one can come anywhere near Krishna. What is that which takes him totally different from the entire gamut of spiritual gurus in the world, masters in the world? If you put on one side Krishna on the other side, still Krishna will be heavier. It's because of his completeness with which he lived his life. That's the cheerful person. You want to understand cheer, you just have to look at Krishna's life. That's all. There's no other way to understand cheer. You can't say, I'm going to laugh all the time, I'm going to be smiling all the time. Anyone who is smiling, very cheerful person. That will not be the case. Remember that. What to failure? Can you believe 700 slokas? Okay, even if you take, his exact number of slokas, 586 slokas, Krishna blew his lungs out to explain the philosophy. Not a word Arjuna understood. How a teacher will feel. But still, with that same enthusiasm, he gave that Anugita again. The later portion. Same Arjuna, same clarification, same thing he has to speak. Gave up to him with that same enthusiasm. No difference. Nothing. Why? Because of internal success. Now, to understand internal success, we have to go to dynamism. Along with dynamism, we can understand. Right? We'll see in the next class.